and I've been in my spot for 10 months. And I was like, I actually haven't been anywhere. I have done almost no exploring. How do you get acquainted with your new environment without an orientation and without an activities fair? And I think there's something about having experience in a place helps you feel like you belong there.
How do I adjust to living in a new town? At one time or another, the vast majority of us are going to be faced with this exact challenge. The time will come when you need to pack up, drive off into the sunset, and get started in a brand new place. But how do we start getting used to that place? How do we meet people, discover our favorite coffee shop, and find our way to the grocery store? And how am I supposed to reset my heart and care deeply for this place and the people in it? All very normal questions and all things that our guest is wondering about too. This week we're chatting with Josephine, an InterVarsity alumna who's been living in a new town for about 10 months now, but still doesn't feel at home. She's hoping we can provide some insight for getting established in her not-so-new surroundings that still feel pretty unfamiliar. I think that we can help. Welcome to After 4, your podcast for navigating life after graduation. I'm your host and guide, John Steele, and this one's for you, alumni. Josephine, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be back.
Yes, so glad to have you. Thanks for saying yes to being here. Josephine, you've been on the podcast before. You've given some introductions, but just in case people are tuning in for the first time, would you give us just a real brief, school, major, and when you graduated?
Yeah, I graduated from Wheaton College, Massachusetts. I was a psych major with minors in education and religion, and I graduated in May of 2025.
So, Josephine, you're joining us in the midst of a series, our HELP series. We're sitting down with some soon-to-be grads and some people who have already graduated, like yourself. And we're talking through, what are the things that are making you anxious about the next season? Or for your situation, what are the things that have been kind of a sticking point over the last year or so? And is there something we can do to try to help clear the log jam and get some progress forward on something? So you've got something for us to chat about. Can you share with us what is the situation that you've been kind of working through over the last year, and how can I help?
Yeah, I do. I thought of this issue because I have a friend who's since graduation had been living with her parents and just now is going to be moving out this month. And she was telling me about all of the things she already knows that are around in her town. And she's like, and when you come to visit me, I can show you what I think is cool, or we could explore things together for the first time. And she has yet to come visit me where I am. And I've been in my spot for 10 months. And I was like, yeah. And if you come to visit me, we could also explore things all for the first time, because I actually haven't been anywhere. I have done almost no exploring. And part of that, in my specific context, I'm only 35 minutes from my former campus, and I was working closer to my campus. And so I was very comfortable in that broader space, but not exactly the radius of where I'm living right now. And so if I was up working, then I could just stay in that area that I already knew versus explore down where I am. And so I kind of thought, I was doing a bit of reflecting, and in college you have orientation where you get to come a couple days early and have the campus to yourself and the orientation leaders. And how do you get acquainted with your new environment without an orientation and without an activities fair? How do I know what's going on if there's not a bunch of tables every semester telling me what I can get involved in?
Yeah. Wow. What a great, you have sort of an expectation has been set that every time I transition somewhere new, there's sort of a welcoming committee to help me get familiar with that place. And this time, even if it was only, like you said, 35 minutes away from where you were, no welcoming committee. And 10 months later, this place is still a mystery to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yes. All right. So those all feel very practical. And you've named a couple of these things already, but I'd like to know, and maybe just asking this question overtly brings up a few more things. And maybe it's even more just why does this feel like an issue? Why do you want this to be different? You mentioned that you have a friend that if she came to visit, it'd be really awesome for me to be able to take her places and to show her around town, but I don't know where any of those things are. So are there any more practical elements like that of why this feels like an issue or why it's been an issue? Or are there internal things that you're like, I just feel, or this is my desire for this change and why it feels like an issue to me?
Yeah, I think I have a couple responses to that. The first one that caught my ear was like, why does it feel important? And I think there's something about having experience in a place, having ties to different locations or activities, just having like memories attached to areas that helps you feel like you're from a place or like you belong there. And so not having that, I think, has made it harder. So also specifically, like I was in southeastern Massachusetts and I'm technically in Rhode Island. So I've made a very short physical trip, but I'm like in a new state. And so it feels, but I don't know how technically how connected I really feel to Rhode Island or to Providence, which is 8 minutes for me. When I feel more connected to my like college town, which is now more like 30, 40 minutes away. Another reason that this might particularly have been an issue for me is that I am very willing, like maybe it came across when I was talking about if a friend was coming to visit me, I will kind of try almost anything with other people, but I'm a lot less likely to do exploring by myself. I'm very much like a homebody by myself, but I will go out and I will do something for the first time. I'll explore with other people, but I need to have I'm with someone else or I'm almost doing it for someone else when I won't do it by myself or for myself.
Yeah. Okay. Some people are social drinkers. Some people are social gamers. You are a social explorer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
nice.
true.
Okay. So another really random question, and maybe depending on your answer, maybe I'll circle back to this later on. But what state is your driver's license from right now?
Okay, thank you for asking because when did I change my driver's license? It was definitely late, but I do have a Rhode Island driver's license right now. That took me a couple months, but I just yesterday I got 2 out of the 3 steps done to register my car in Rhode Island, which is something you're supposed to do within 30 days of moving.
Right.
Yeah. So I still have my Minnesota plates on, but my Rhode Island plates are sitting in my passenger seat.
That's so funny. Okay. So you've been you said in Massachusetts, right? Before that.
Yeah, but you're a college student. I don't think you have to like say that you live there.
Yeah, for sure.
It saves me a lot on car insurance.
Absolutely. I get that. I'm asking because it took me a long time to swap from my Indiana driver's license to the Minnesota driver's license. And even that just felt, there was like a moment of like, okay, I am leaning into my new place. And that felt like a meaningful change for me. So you got the ball rolling.
I really relate to that. I was quite tender when I changed my driver's license because they didn't let me keep my Minnesota one. They kept it. And you probably know this now, but like the Minnesota driver's license has like a secret little fish on it, and you like shine a light from under it. The fish comes through, and I was like, "There's nothing fun on the new driver's license. I miss my old one."
Such a letdown. Oh man. Okay. All right. That just provides some helpful context. Even like there's some very practical things we can hang on to that can have really like emotional ties to it, and it feels silly to say out loud. But even something like your driver's license, especially if it's changing it from this is my home state, and now I'm changing to this new place. Like even that, it's practical, but it is also very emotional. Like there is, it is an indicator of significant change and transition that's happening. And so, okay, that even just that helps sort of paint a picture for me a little bit, Josephine. Can I ask you an OG after 4 question?
Okay.
I almost never ask this question anymore just because of the nature of our episodes, but it feels right to ask you, like one of our like ultra fans of the podcast who has listened to essentially every episode, to go back to an OG question, which is about expectation versus reality.
Oh, okay.
Yes, hopefully it's one you're ready for, but either way, it is an OG question that I like never ask anymore. But I would like to know, now that you have lived where you have, you said for about 10 months can you share just really briefly about expectation versus reality? How does your lived experience now over these last 10 months differ from what you anticipated it being with regard to being in a new town? And maybe it's lined up exactly, or maybe it's been totally different. But I'd just be interested to hear expectation versus reality for the last 10 months.
For sure. Thanks for that question. I fact checked with my staff this morning so that I could quote her accurately. I was remembering pretty much exactly this time last year. Maybe it was more towards like April, May. But my housing was situated pretty last minute. And over that time of figuring out what my housing was going to be like, me and the staff had really been praying that I would get to live with other Christians, specifically that I would either get to be with other girls my age, or even if there was a family that was somehow in one of our networks, that if they had an open room, that I would get to stay in like a multi-generational type of situation. And when it was very, very last minute finalized what my housing was going to be, and that was going to include living alone, we were both really, of course, thankful that my housing was secured, but also pretty bummed, and trying to be proactive and just aware. I remember we had a phone call and she had asked me like, okay, let's imagine it's 6 months from now. Like, have you met people? Are you doing things? And I remember she had said, if you are living alone, it will be easy for you to be alone. And that was entirely accurate. That was very predictable. And so unfortunately, this has very much met my expectations, which is a bummer. And there's definitely some ways that we tried to, knowing that it was predictable, tried to counteract it or see what maybe we could do. But this has definitely met my expectations in this way, just because I knew myself very well, and clearly my staff knew me very well.
Sure. And it lines up with what you said earlier about like, if there's somebody here, I'll go explore for the sake of that person, and we'll go do stuff. But if it's just me, I'm a homebody. I tend to be at home, and that has perpetuated. And like that has, it sounds like those things are lining up with what you anticipated happening. Which is reality. That was very much my experience for a good chunk of my first year as well in Mankato, is that even though I was so lonely in that apartment, you and I have talked about like loneliness and stuff before. And even though I was so lonely, it still was like, okay, but this is a safe space that I understand. It's so small that I know it like the back of my hand, and I know what to expect here. And so there is an element of safety, even if there's something better than safety out there, in exploring and connecting with people. So I very much identify with that experience, Josephine. So do you want to just start the process of kind of brainstorming together a little
let's do
bit
it.
About like, okay, so first I have a question to continue us in this process. And that's, if you could wave a magic wand and say, poof, this is my new town or not so new town experience now, what would that scene look like for you?
Yeah, I was reflecting on this last night, and this was not even my experience as a freshman, but I was kind of like, where are the InterVarsity kids knocking door to door, inviting people to stuff? Like, that would be so convenient. But even I live, there's a couple other people in the building that I'm in. It's a house. It's not like an apartment building, but there are other people. And so there's not as much opportunity to meet people. But if there had been some way where instead of just like waving when we pass, if there had been like some kind of conversation of like, hey, I just moved in. Like, how long have you guys been here? What do you like to do? Any kind of like actual conversation that lasted longer than like passing each other might have been helpful. I was also like, where are the bulletin boards? My college used a website called Engage that had like all of the different activities during every day that you could come. You could just look at the calendar and be like, oh, there's 15 club meetings I could come to. And this is maybe a little particular to me, but because I'm not on social media, I feel very out of the loop with things like that. It's not like I'm on a Providence Facebook page for young adults.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I can see that would be like a logical, easy next step, but it's like actually not something I can do for my well-being. So I have to keep that boundary.
That's great. Smart.
This is like maybe encroaching on your part.
Okay. All right. Bring it on.
But I feel like, and I can still do this, but like prayer walk your new neighborhood. Like, and my neighborhood is not exactly one you really want to go on long walks around. But like, go drive somewhere else in the city. Like go to a park or a town. Do a prayer drive or like, drive somewhere else and then hop out where it's safe and go on a walk, and prayer walk and like really invite, again, this, I might be stepping over a little bit, but like really invite God, like ask him, where do you want me to be? Who do you want me to be meeting with? What kind of ways do you want me to fill my free time? What spaces do you want me in? Which sometimes might not look like the fun, cute coffee shop. You might, you maybe are supposed to be in the like rougher parts of your neighborhood. But I feel like coming with more questions than answers would have perhaps been helpful for me.
Things that I heard come up there were like sort of the NSO door knocking, like where are people knocking on my door? And if I had just kind of been able to connect with the people around me, like in my dorm, like if I could have just had that experience. I heard the bulletin boards, like where are the bulletin boards with stuff to do around town? Like we had for doing stuff around campus. And then I heard like sort of where are the places to be thinking about the spiritual well-being of the place where I'm living as well.
Certainly.
And like those are the things that I'm used to, and I would, if I could wave a magic wand, those are the things that I would love to see around me again, and places to engage with those kinds of opportunities. Okay, so then my follow-up to that is which of those, and maybe you would feel like all of them, and if that's the case, great, we'll narrow from there. But like, which of those elements do you think you could actually practically pursue? Are there any of them that feel totally out of reach, or are there one or two that feel like there is like a realistic version of this that I could lean into?
Yeah, I'll give you what I could do and what seems too far out of reach.
Okay.
What I could do is like, I can walk around my neighborhood. I can drive around, and like invite God into those next steps of like, how do I explore by myself, but not by myself? And then the one that feels too hard is like, I can't just wait for other people to knock on my door and invite me to things. Perhaps I could take some step in like praying, God, would you send people who would invite me to things? But, I wanted to mention that one because you had shared the like, I will do things for and with other people, but not as much for myself. Like, I mean, honestly, now that I'm verbally processing, like, I think even if I wasn't sent someone who was like, hey, Josephine, here's this super awesome thing that we might totally enjoy. Let's go do it together. But if someone had come up to me, or still would, and said, hey, I'm new in town. I don't know what's going on. Would you show me around? I mean, I'd be able to say, I don't have much experience to share with you, but I would be so excited to do that with you. So maybe even transitioning from like, not just praying, would you send me someone who I can follow, but like someone who I could lead? Yeah.
absolutely.
Or explore with.
Yes. Would you send that friend who is in need? And that, like, I feel much more willing to step into the gap for someone else, and not necessarily to step in the gap for myself. Yeah, totally. Okay, that's interesting. Let me have you. Are there any of those things that you have already tried? Because I also don't want us to like land on something that we're like, okay, I've tried that and it really just didn't work. But you said no, you haven't tried any of those kinds of things at this point.
I don't think I have.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the most efforts I saw. I haven't been doing nothing, but I've been doing probably close to nothing in terms of exploring or even like attempts at social stuff. But I am the most young adult engagement that I get. That's not with other graduate friends who are an hour or more north of me, closer to Boston and Providence, are with my church is in Providence, and there's a good amount of young adults. And so I have interaction with them. And then a perk and a flaw is that the young adults meet every 2 weeks. And so getting to talk for 1.5 or 2 hours, it's not just like a chatting time, it's an OIA Bible study, but only every 2 weeks does not have the same impact as it does when you're living on campus with those people, because then you might be in class with them. You're seeing them when you are walking from your dorms or when you're in the dining hall. And I do not have that. There's no passing time. There's no casual interaction. And so it's really only every 2 weeks, which makes those transitions from like associates and like church friends to friends a lot harder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. But they are right there, like fairly local in Providence with you, right?
Yes. Okay. I also little peel back the curtain, have a lot of driving anxiety, and I'm not a city person.
Okay.
So I live just outside of Providence in like a town, very right between Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So I made that choice very intentionally because I did not want to live in Providence because that's scary. I've gotten over a lot of that anxiety, not over, but like I've gotten through a lot of it by just the nature of like, I drive into Providence for church. I drive into Providence for this Bible study, for if there are social things, which are rare, but not never. So I've been able to push through some of that, but also it's a barrier. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see here. A few different barriers that you've named there that have maybe factors that have maybe held you back a little bit. Some of them like a mix of external, some of them internal, and some of them being like, all right, I don't love city driving experiences. It makes me nervous. I can very much identify with you on that one. When I first moved to Minnesota, and anytime that I needed to like go to the cities or something, I was like, I hate driving through here. I hate driving through the Twin Cities. And for my wife, she grew up like in a suburb, and she's like, this is so easy. This isn't even like scary city driving. And I'm like, okay, but I'm a little country boy and I don't like this.
Yeah.
It makes me anxious. And there's So anyways, I get that. You don't love driving in the city. And you even mentioned that maybe some of the like spaces around you aren't always places that you feel the safest when you're out and about, whether you're walking or driving, or and that's a reality. And that the time that you do have connections with people, but the time that you spend is not as frequent as you think would be, not as frequently as would be helpful for developing day-to-day friendships and relationships with people.
Yes, all of that is accurate. I would maybe even add a small element of there's pros and cons when you're doing your own transportation, where I'm going might be, 20 or 30 minutes for other people, and it's like an hour for me. If I'm driving myself, then however long we're together, I might have 1 or 2 hours by myself in my car, which is just like another fact of like, not just the time, but like the being by yourself. So you might be going to be with other people. But it's nice to then have like, if you need to leave, or, you have like a way out, but sometimes it's a factor of like, but I'm going to be by myself for this long, even if I'm going to be with other people for a little bit. Sometimes it's like, why would I leave my apartment anyways?
Yeah, totally. Is it worth that investment? If I'm going to be alone anyways, maybe I should just commit to being alone today instead of all this extra work and loneliness in the car for just a short amount of time, just to like kind of whet your appetite for being with people, and then it's already time to go. And totally. That makes a lot of sense. I understand that. Is it even worth the effort? But then flip side of that is that you've named a few potential resources that you do have on hand. And that's that you do have a car and you can drive. and you do have the beginnings of connections with people from church, and you've been doing meaningful things with them, even if the primary thing has been going to church and doing Bible study together, like strong foundations still being built, but maybe some lacking, lacking some like just straight up social structure to go along with that. Okay. So Josephine, like identifying some of those like pros and cons of the situation. Let's just trade places for a second here. Pretend that I'm the one that's just shared all of this stuff with you. If you were encouraging me to examine those things that you have just talked us through, what would you recommend? What would you recommend that I do if I was in a similar situation to you? Because we've also identified that you and I are very similar in a number of these different things. So I think you could recommend things based on that scenario that would actually be meaningful for me.
I'm not sure, but if I start externally processing, maybe I'll get there. Yeah,
let's go for it. Yeah, that's
it's like
great.
The Michael Scott quote, like maybe eventually I'll find it along the way. I mean, one of the things I'd probably say is like be observant, like try and kind of have your ear out to like if there's a certain place where people are saying that they might be going, and then it might be awkward, but like invite yourself, like say, "Can I come?" Hey, and even specifically like, do you have an extra spot in your car? Even if you're worried about the idea of like driving by yourself, definitely be open and tell people, hey, I'm looking for friends. I mean, that for some people that can be really hard. I've been quite vocal about it.
Okay. At your small group in particular?
Yeah. I mean, okay. but even with adults or families that I know, like at church and stuff, I'm like, if you know, I mean, part of that is like I'm looking hopefully to be living with other people soon. Like I don't exactly want to stay in my situation right now. So I'm like, you know, young adults who are looking for new roommates or even just friends or are by themselves, you know, X, Y, Z. Yeah. So for some people that can be really hard, but I think it's a necessary step. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of at, those are like the only two things I can think of. It's like, listen to what other people are doing, invite yourself or see if there's an opportunity if you can, and just like let people know you're open and you're willing to do things. But also that you need to, like, not just like, oh yeah, I'm up for anything, but like, hey, like I need some peer interaction.
Yes. Yeah. I think that those are really great. I think those are really great things for you to be keeping in mind, like that you are actively paying attention and being prepared to jump on opportunities and that I think you're starting the process of putting yourself out there. This takes me back to something that I remember my mom telling me when I was like in high school, and you know, I had many seasons, even if I was surrounded by friends, that there are places where I just felt like lonely or misunderstood or whatever, like very typical high school experience. And I remember my mom saying something to this effect. Mom, if you're listening, I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but it was something to the effect of like, friendly people have friends, or people who have friends are friendly. And like there is, and she was not trying to say, and you need to be nicer to people. That's not what she was saying. But essentially what she was communicating is like the people who have people to hang out with regularly, they are proactive and they put themselves out there. They take risks. And that's one of the things that I would encourage you is that, you know, you're putting feelers out for opportunities. But I wonder, is there like one what might feel legitimately risky things to step out and do? And so I wonder, is there like, could you almost do a reset on the house that you live in and to say, you know, there wasn't somebody coming and knocking on my door. And even though I've been here for 10 months and it's sort of that situation where you like never learn somebody's name, so you just continue to not learn it because it would be awkward. Like, could you bake cookies or brownies or something and take them to the doors of the other people that live there and say, hey, I'm Josephine. And like, is there some sort of like almost reenacting, I'm new to the building or you're new to the building, and hey, let's get to know each other. Or are there like, is there a place at your small group to just straight up say like, I'd love to plan, would anybody else be interested in planning a hangout together at some point? And maybe you could even try to establish it so it's somewhere closer in the direction of your place, so that it's a little easier for you to even like commit to doing. And one of the other things that stands out to me is I wonder, you've had this friend who says, hey, I'm in this new place, I'm getting to know this, so when you come visit, I can show you all around. How far away does that person live?
Oh, okay. She's going to be in Salem, Mass. So over an hour, probably under 2 hours north. Probably maybe like an hour and 15, an hour and a half. I'm not totally sure. I'm quite bad at
so
maps.
Sure, that's all right. But not an insane distance for like maybe setting up I just wonder, is there a place that even just with her, could you say like, hey, I need to get to know my town as well. Would you come for a Friday night or a Saturday, and can we just explore together? And like, I wonder if even that is like an in-between step. This is somebody I know, I have trust built with, and I think would be an easy yes. I wonder if she would come and do me a favor and like explore town with me. And so I wonder if those could be some steps towards developing friendship and relationship and exploring your local space. Maybe she would even drive. like would you come pick me up, and would you be willing to drive and explore town with me? And then you can be freed up. You're not feeling anxious about traffic or about like, how do I get where we're going? I need to watch the, Google Maps or whatever. And you can just be a passenger who is enjoying if she feels less anxious about some of those things. Do any of those feel like worthwhile considerations to you?
Yeah, I will respond to all three.
Okay.
And I think they go in like a good emotional, they have direction in the response.
Okay.
So I think that's good. So the first one, like reintroducing yourself around the building. So unfortunately, there was a bit of a failed attempt already around Christmas, where I had made homemade cookie boxes with like multiple different types. That I just exactly. And I left them outside of the different doors. And one of them I was able to get a response, but it seemed like her parents must have been staying in her apartment because she had said like, oh, my parents will love this. I was like, I don't really know what that means. And then the other ones I never heard anything from, which was just a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have a lot of free time right now. Maybe I make some Easter bread and I try again. Okay. and I will admit, I'm pretty low on risk taking. And so when I did this at Christmas, I was on my way to the airport to go to Minnesota. And so I left the boxes and I didn't knock on a door. I didn't say anything. I left a text message saying, hey, this is from me. I hope you guys have a great holiday. But like, I did not do that with my body.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
And maybe this is a bit of a stretch moment and I can try that this time.
Okay.
Then the second one for friends, for social stuff with people in my area. This upcoming Sunday, this is giving a bit of behind the veil of what time we're recording. But this upcoming Sunday is Palm Sunday, and we have service in the morning, and then later in the afternoon, there's going to be a prayer service at a new place that new to me, at a park.
Yeah, sure.
In Providence. And I could be proactive in the young adults group chat. This will be a stretch moment, but it's something I could probably actually do and say, hey, do people want to do something in between church and Prospect Park? Is there somewhere people want to go for lunch or something like that? So I'm not driving back home, sitting by myself for 3 hours and then driving back out. We all probably want to do something with other people. And then the third one, she's already scheduled to come. Like nice. We have that in the books.
That's amazing.
That's like the weekend after Easter. So that's not too far away, but sweet. That's in the books.
It's coming. Okay. That's awesome. So you have like some tiered kind of like, there's no risk. This friend is coming. It's happening, guaranteed in the books. a little bit more risk, but with people that you have some trust and relationship built with, you could still get shot down. Like that is totally a possibility, but it's less risk. And then you've got the like, I recognize the people who live in this house, but we do not have a relationship. Yeah, so you've got a few different. You're not putting all your eggs and you're not putting all your Easter eggs in one basket here, but you are like you've got some different. Like, all right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to diversify my risk taking and see what happens here. And I think that's really awesome that you have some places that you can test some of those things out. I'd be very interested to know how things go from there. And I do just want to say again, there's a certain element of preparing yourself that anytime you take a risk, you have to be prepared that it just won't pan out.
Yeah.
And so then also, what does it look like to sort of pick myself up and be willing to take the next step?
Good.
Like take a breather, but take the next step and try again in a different way. And I wonder if you have some people who really love you who would like, you could even give them the dates for when these things are going to happen and just say, would you just be praying? I wonder if there are people who would, okay, that's awesome. I figured that would be the case. That's great. Josephine, can I just recommend a few other really like simple resources for you in this process? 2 of them I know you've already engaged with, maybe all 3 of them even, but 2 of them I'm certain you have. The first is just a couple of episodes where we've talked about some of this exact stuff. The first is episode 168 with Nader, when we talked about the struggle for friendship and moving from isolation to connection. And I just wonder if going back and revisiting that episode 168 with Nader could be, if there might be some helpful pieces in there. The other was one that we did just a few weeks after that, and it was this past summer, episode 183 called "Where Should I Live?" And that's with Erica Wrights, and that's very much about a theology of place and just continuing to grow in the like, not just what should I do here, but why am I here in the first place, and what should that mean, and how should that flavor the what I do here. So I wonder if there's some things that could be revisited there. And I know that Erica also recommends some really great resources in our conversation that could be worth looking into. And then the last one, have you read Erica's book After College?
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, you have a copy. That's great.
Okay, I do. I will also add.
Which version do you have? Can you hold up?
I do not have the updated one. This is the one I have.
Yes, that's the one I've read too. Do you know what it is that makes the updated book?
It's specifically for Gen Z.
Yes, she's gone back and sort of revamped it so that it is like, this speaks more directly to what Gen Z has been experiencing after college. So then I'm going to get it's going to take me just a minute because of transit and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to get you a copy of the updated version.
Thank you.
And that, yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate that.
Erica is one of the like leading thinkers in this space about this transition in particular. There's lots of people doing really good work, but Erica is doing fantastic work. And anytime that we can get that resource into people's hands, I think it is a win. So I'm going to get that to you. Just give me some time, but I promise we will get it to you. Josephine, how are you feeling about next steps here?
I'm feeling good. I came in being like, I want practical next steps, and I guess I didn't imagine that they would even be so specific to my context, like that we would actually talk about the people, the location that I'm already in. I kind of thought they were going to be more general. And so I'm like really appreciative and
awesome.
A little excited. I'm going to say a little. I'm still not a big risk taker, but I'm a little excited. I guess I'm probably most excited about getting to like involve my network and like, hey, I'm going to be doing this thing. It's probably going to be a little tough for me, but like, would you be praying?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. When I think about the situation that you're in, I can't help but think of like biblical characters. I think about Abraham, who made this huge trek to a different land, but he was like invited to go there. God called him and he said yes. And then you have Israel, who was eventually like dragged into a different land, as punishment and exile. And sometimes being in a different place can feel like one or the other. I've had both of those experiences where I'm like, this is a call from God to be here. And then there are other times that I'm like, this is a punishment from God to be here. But both groups had very different reasons for being where they were. But the invitation from the Lord was essentially the same. Like Abraham was told, I am blessing you to be a blessing in this space. And Israel was told, I want you to put down roots, because when you contribute to the thriving of the world around you, you will thrive as well. And so either way, like the invitation from the Lord was be where you are on purpose. And like that is my hope for you, Josephine, and for everybody else that's listening that's having questions about getting used to a new space, is that it's okay to feel uncertain, but be where you are on purpose. And whatever that looks like for you, it'll be different for each of you. But I just want you to feel confident that you are in the new space that you're in. 10 months new space that you're in. You're there for a reason, and that God is with you, and that he has called you, and that he has great things in store for you and for the people around you through you. And so you are not alone in that process of figuring it out. And the Lord is with you, and your InterVarsity alumni community is with you as well. So I just bless you to keep leaning into this new space, Josephine. So how do you adjust to a new town after graduation? Just a few thoughts. We didn't cover this first one with Josephine because she's already been there for a few months, but if you haven't moved yet, start with some research. Look up churches, review their statements of purpose and belief, and watch a service or two online so that you can get a feel for what an actual Sunday is like there. Find out if there are any locations in town that are famous or that the locals really enjoy visiting. Make a list of some of the local restaurants that you want to check out and plan to go visit them. Grab a map and get a feel for the layout of the area and the surrounding areas as well. So start with research. The next step might be something that you don't necessarily want to hear, but be ready to take risks. Go to those places that you've researched and experience them. Be the friendly neighbor, even though you're the new person. I love it that Josephine made cookies for her neighbors at Christmas. Even if it didn't go as she had hoped, it was still a pro move. Be proactive with the people that you meet at church. If you meet a family, say, hey, I'm new here. Would it ever be possible to grab lunch with you and your family after church? Or when you meet other young adults, let them know that you just got to town and that you'd love to connect with some new friends over coffee and ice cream. You might be surprised how willing people are to just jump in with you in those moments. Last thing, commit to the spiritual well-being of your town even before you go. What if you started praying right now for your neighbors, for your coworkers, and for the community as a whole? I love that Josephine was thinking about prayer walks or prayer drives if that's what's necessary. But what if you didn't just live somewhere? What if you loved that somewhere and started loving it before you even arrived? Friends, God has great things in store for you in this new town. Plans for your shalom and for the shalom of those around you. He has blessed you to be a blessing in that space. Lean in and keep your eyes open, even for small opportunities. And if you wanted to catch any of the episodes I recommended to Josephine, I put a link to them in the show notes. Also, if you're a senior or a recent college grad and you would like to join me on the podcast for a conversation like this one, reach out to me. Send me a DM on Instagram at After4Pod. I would love to see if we could put together a few more episodes just like these ones that we've been doing and help you with a specific issue that you're having about life after graduation. Josephine, thank you so much for coming back again. I trust that you've already started seeing some new developments in getting to know your new town. Alumni, be sure to come back next week for our last episode, at least for now, in this Help series. We're chatting with Justice, an alumnus who's wondering how to deal with the recent tragic loss of a friend. I'm hopeful that we can provide a helping hand for him. Until then, consider sharing this episode with one friend who needs to hear it, and I will see you in the after, alum. Thanks for listening to After 4. This podcast is brought to you by the InterVarsity Alumni Relations Team, hosted and produced by John Steele, production assistance by Mike Zentera, edited by Caleb Leppert, and our After 4 theme music was written and performed by John Steele.